Just 5 days away from the 49ers and Chiefs Super Bowl rematch. It's right around the corner. Media night was last night. I think there's a lot of takeaways from that. We're going to talk about, is this Andy Reid's worst Super Bowl team? Some of the matchups, and then compare Brock Purdy to Eli Manning. We're going to talk about that plus more next. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And it's Tuesday afternoon, aka still morning Pacific time, which means I got my guy Ryan G. Hensley in the building. Ryan, looking good with that new 7K subscriber badge next to your name, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Loving life, man. All is well. Niners are headed to the Super Bowl. A lot of good things going on, and personally, and I get to be here with Jesse Naylor on Last Second Sports, so can't complain, man.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it. All right, there's been a lot of conversation over the last week. What's interesting is I had family in town, and then I had a friend that I'd seen in a long time in town. So I saw all the stuff this last week from Jed and Kyle and John, but I didn't really comment on it, didn't make any videos about it. I was just kind of chilling. The calm before the storm, really. Taking some time out to be with family. And I had a lot of opinions on it, which now are just too late to talk about, if I'm being honest. But this Fieldgate thing happened as well yesterday. Didn't really talk about it, but now we're seeing a situation here where we've got media night was last night. You had Andy Reid basically poo-poo it. You had Goodell poo-poo it. And then you had Kyle say, hey, we're not changing anything. It's not that big of a deal. We're moving forward as is. We're going to practice on this field. Do you think, first of all, what were your thoughts before everything happened last night and everybody making it as if it's not a big deal versus what do you feel now with this whole Fieldgate situation? Is it a big deal anymore? Was it ever a big deal? What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, it's not right. It's not fair. Those things are true. But it is what it is. And I think that's the attitude the 49ers are taking on. Seems like that's the attitude Kyle Shanahan and the players were taking on. I mean, it is, what are you going to do at this point, right? So you're not going to sit around and whine and complain about it. That's not the right way to approach it. You just need to take it in stride. This is the situation. This is what the field is. It's not fair. Oh, well, still got to go out and win the Super Bowl. And I think that's the right attitude that the Niners are taking. It's strange that it was allowed to be this way by both the 49ers and the NFL. I think the NFL, they said they tested the field and softer than the Niners are used to, but it passes the standards and voted unanimously. Thank you. To pass and work as a practice field. But I feel like the 49ers probably should have done some just making sure that this was done right from the beginning and probably been ahead of this a little bit. But look, at this point, like you said, to open the show, it's 5 days away to the Super Bowl. What are you going to do? So go out there, make the best of it. And I saw a report this morning that says the field seems to be improving every day. I don't know what they mean by every day because it's been one day, but it's improved today over yesterday, and they're taking it in stride and they're approaching it the right way, I think.
Yeah, I think it was definitely an issue at some point because what happened was you had the 49ers thinking about doing media night and then flying back to Santa Clara to practice for the rest of the week before coming back out to Vegas. That's not ideal by any means. So I think there was something to it, but whatever changes were made or whatever inspections were made put the 49ers enough at ease. What I don't understand is every year they rotate. Okay, AFC's home team, NFC's home team for the Super Bowl. 2019, if I'm not mistaken, that's the last time that they played the Chiefs. I'm pretty sure the 49ers were the away team. And then they're the away team again, just based off of how the years have fallen. Shouldn't it just be the better record? Because I think in both instances, the 49ers had the better record, should have been the home team in both of those. So why not just give it as an incentive like they do with the NBA? The NBA, I'm pretty sure the finals goes based on who was the better team. That puts some gumption, I guess, into the regular season and makes it so it's more important. I mean, the regular season can't mean nothing once you get to a Super Bowl. Why rotate? Just give the better team the home field advantage, and the 49ers would have been the ones practicing in the nice facilities anyways. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a good idea moving forward. Any kind of incentive like that to keep teams playing, that's probably a good idea. I know it's been this way for a long time. Honestly, it doesn't bother me. I feel like, yes, the practice facility is not up to par for the 49ers, but as long as they stay healthy and they're able to go out there and get their reps in, it's really a non-issue. But moving forward, I agree with you. That's probably a better way to approach it. Just like you said, in the NBA, they have those incentives. MLB has similar incentives. So, yeah, just make everything worth something. I like your idea, Jesse. Let's ride in and tell Godell what we think we should be doing. But right now, this is a situation. 49ers got to make the best of it. Go out there and practice and get ready. No excuses come Sunday.
yeah, absolutely. Keenan tapping in. He said it twice, but the first time he cut off his message, so he's had to re-say it. But he said, "Good morning, fellas. Hope we're buttering those biscuits today." 100. Nice.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Appreciate
Yeah.
it. I don't even know what that means, but
I said it on Grant's show yesterday. It was a long. It was a. I don't even remember how it came up, but we were talking about, you got to risk it to get a biscuit and butter the biscuit. I don't know. I gotta go watch it back. I don't even know what I said.
I didn't watch the show, but you guys seem to be on one because I saw the pictures of you guys doing the Kyle Shanahan with the pieces and whatever. So you were enjoying yourselves, to say the least.
It was a goofy ass show, to be real. Yeah.
Sometimes it gets that way with Grant, man. So, sometimes it gets that way. All right, let's talk about Media Night. I think there was a lot of little takeaways that came from Media Night. Some bigger than others, I guess. I think that one of the things that's going to come up here, we'll see what the comment section here feels about it. I definitely probably am a little bit more serious about the situation than others, but we'll see. What were some of your takeaways from Media Night?
Kyle was lit. That's the first and foremost, man. I want to get your take because I don't think you like it as much as me. I think it's hilarious, but I understand where you're coming from. Give me your take on Kyle being a little lit yesterday, apparently, allegedly.
Allegedly. Listen, here's the deal. And I see. Listen, I'm going to explain where I'm coming from. This is actually funny because I said this. I said what I tweeted. Call me a square. Thank you, JM617. But I take substance abuse just in general, and I'm not saying that this is a problem of Kyle's. I'm not trying to draw that correlation.
Yeah.
And I'm going to walk you through my thinking and where this all comes from, right? So for me, substance abuse is a big part of my life. Not me personally, but all my friends growing up had substance abuse issues.
Yeah.
Most of my family. My dad passed away from alcoholism after not being a drinker at all until he was basically in his 40s. So I've seen what those things can do to people, and I've seen the lives that people live based off of that. So for me, I don't partake in really much of anything. I will drink from time to time. I'm not saying that I never drink or whatever, but I'll have a beer a month, maybe. Like if we're out to dinner and I just want a good beer, what have you. And one thing I don't ever do, and I take this very seriously, is when I'm out in public, in a very public setting, regardless of whether it's work related or not, I don't drink. I just won't do it. I always want to be alert and aware of what's going on around me. It's just the way that I am. If I'm at a work setting and I've seen people drinking, I certainly judge those people. I'm like, wow, you can't just like not be drunk for a night. You're at a work event. You think people don't forget these things? And if this were a player, let's just assume this were a player, do we think that the response would be the same? If a player had done this, do you think that maybe it would be conduct detrimental to the team, and maybe that player would be risking not playing in the Super Bowl potentially? Like, that's the reality of the situation. But because it was Kyle and it's a Monday, we just kind of laugh it off and it's not that big of a deal. I look at it and say, okay, well, let me think through some of the things that have happened leading up to this point. You've got the 49ers, who in 2019 lost the Super Bowl. went out partying with Lil Wayne as if they had won the Super Bowl. There were rumors of players going out just a couple nights before, having fun and doing their thing, skipping curfew. And then you fast forward to Mooney Ward and his comments just 2 days ago saying, well, first couple days in Vegas, I'll be getting lit. All right. And then you see Kyle allegedly under the influence at media night, which is a work obligation. It's fun, it's different, but it's a work obligation. He's the leader of the organization. It just makes me question, like, where is their mind at in this moment? So again, this is not saying, oh my gosh, they're going to lose the Super Bowl because Kyle had a few pops on Monday. This is not, hey, he's an adult, he can't have fun. It's none of those things. I think he has social anxiety a little bit and he wanted to loosen up. He took it a little bit further than probably what he should have.
Yeah.
At moments he's slurring his words and doing whatever. I just wasn't amused by it. People are laughing about it. They think it's fun. That's just me personally. I'm not amused by the situation. I don't think it's that funny. I also am not stubborn enough to realize that it's probably not that big of a deal, I guess, in the big scheme of things.
Yeah.
But I'm smart enough to realize that if they don't win the Super Bowl, comments like Mooney Ward's and Kyle Shanahan acting the way he did will be brought up by people. I guarantee you. So now you really have to win, because stupid things like this will be brought up as a reason to why you possibly didn't win. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think one of the, I guess, so first of all, my dad was alcoholic, so I get it. My dad died when I was.
And Jesus, I did. I watched 3 or 4. He slurred his words in 3 of them. So I don't listen. I'm not here to judge. I'm not saying he was or he wasn't. I don't know for sure. All I know is it wasn't just one interview. I watched all of them and came away with the same thought. So maybe he wasn't. I don't know. But the way that I viewed it, he definitely was. That's just my opinion. But go ahead.
Yeah, no. So my dad died from alcoholism when I was about 19 as well. So I get it. Well, it's really cancer. Cigarettes and alcohol is probably the cause.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I don't drink a lot either. I barely drink, maybe 4 or 5 times a year. However, Vegas will get the best of you sometimes. If you go out, I've been to Vegas and it kind of acted up. It is everywhere. Now, I see your point, and I don't necessarily disagree. But I also don't think he was like drunk, right? He was definitely buzzed and intoxicated, I would say, but I don't think he was like to the point where he was saying just ridiculous stuff or he said anything bad. Now, to me, the main take for me is if you win a Super Bowl, non-issue.
Not a big deal. It's a non-issue.
If you lose the Super Bowl, then all this comes back into question. Were you focused at the right time? Were you dialed in? Were you prioritizing what's important, which is winning the Super Bowl, or were you messing around too much? That'll come up, and we'll see what happens. Overall, I totally get what you're saying. And as a leader, as a coach, right? I've been a coach for 10 years. No way in hell am I going to lead my team out in that condition. That being said, they're adults. They're not like, because I coach kids, so it's a different thing. But adults are adults. They're in Vegas. He wasn't like hammered to where he couldn't like function. So it doesn't bother me that much. I think really when we come back to it, if they don't win the Super Bowl, then all these things will come up to question. But as long as they win it, man, it doesn't bother me. Enjoy yourself. It is Monday night. It is a little strange. I think if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I know if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm waiting until after media night before I go drinking or whatever. So a lot of people say he's not drunk in the chat. I mean, come on, man. Like, if you ever watch Kyle Shanahan,
so-and-so was there 40 feet away from him and said he wasn't drunk. It's like, okay.
if
sure. He just slurs his words every interview he's ever done. That's what he's always sounded like. Like, no, dude, I'm sorry. It's not. And again, and I see, hey, no offense. No offense taken. I'm not expecting. I know that I'm in the minority. I know that when I posted it on Twitter last night that I wasn't amused that people would lose their mind. That's the expectation, right? And not everybody has the same background or story or what have you, or thoughts. People look at everything a little bit differently. So there's no offense taken. I I think I would be blowing it out of proportion if I said they're going to lose because of this. That's blowing it out of proportion. But just stating what has been said and where my mind goes, that's just my opinion on it.
I
And I
I
and I am fine if people have a difference of opinion. That's kind of the whole point of of
actually
sports, is having a difference of opinion.
and the other thing is too, like, this is entertainment, and I did find it entertaining, to be real, because you don't really get, Kyle answering questions the way he answered them yesterday. He was just off the cuff, not many ums involved, right? It wasn't very
Mhm.
calculated. It was just like, "This is how I feel," typical for people who are drinking. So, I wish people asked him more questions last night, to be honest. I look at this as an entertainment thing, but yeah, if they don't win a Super Bowl, then maybe this comes back up as something that was contributing factor to them not being prepared.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is under the influence, that can mean anything. I don't know. But he clearly wasn't 100% sober minded. That
Yeah,
I think that was clear. So I think anybody refuting that is like, okay. I think
yeah,
that's where I'll take a hard stance and say, I
yeah.
disagree with you wholeheartedly there. But as far as the impact and what it means, who knows? I
All his
Probably not
inhibi-
anything. Probably not anything.
all his inhibitions were gone last night. So I wish there were more questions for Kyle, because he was just like, he's ready to tell you the truth. One thing that I noticed is he did. They talked about when what Jed York brought up earlier this week in regards to him saying Brock Purdy was the best quarterback in training camp. So
Oh, good call.
got
Yeah, yeah.
more, we got more clarity out of that, what he meant and why he said it. He was basically frustrated with Trey Lance, is what it sounded like to me after the training camp. And he kind of said it in jest, well, the third string quarterback's our best quarterback. He only had like 3-4 reps. I think he was just more pissed about Trey Lance's underperforming than anything. And then he said later on, it came to fruition. He's like, looks like I was right. So we got a little bit more clarity on
Well,
that.
he said if I had really known that he was the best quarterback,
Right.
the best player would have been playing. So
Yeah.
kind of, which was my take. I sat back and listened to everybody else's takes, or looked at everybody else's takes over the week. I didn't really comment on it
Hmm.
because again, I wasn't around making videos. And for me, it's one thing to tweet about something, it's another to clarify like in person or on camera or what have you. But
Yeah.
that was always the take. It was like, listen, Jed can say that, but if he was truly the best player and it was that obvious, Kyle's
Sure.
going to play the best player, and he would have done that. It wouldn't have taken the final preseason game for Brock Purdy to battle it out with Nate Sudfeld if Brock Purdy was the best quarterback by a mile and should have been starting. They wouldn't have signed Jimmy Garoppolo 3.5 weeks later to be the backup if Brock Purdy, you know what I mean? Like, so
Right.
yes, I'm sure that he probably did look like the best, but that doesn't mean he was the best or that you had seen it on the field.
Yeah.
So I thought the whole thing was kind of funny, but that was a good takeaway from last night as well. It was good to hear that, but also there were some other things. I mean, it wasn't just them. I mean, there was a lot. Well, let's talk about Brock Purdy and his demeanor on the podium. Loved Brock Purdy's demeanor on the podium. I loved
Yeah.
how he was very serious, how he was there for business. The opposite of what I thought of Kyle is what I look at Brock Purdy. I mean, he handled it like a professional. He was almost too serious at times. Not in a bad way, but just like you could tell this means a lot to him. He's here for business. I love that. I love that as the quarterback and the captain of this team, that he acted the way that he acted.
Yeah. Brock Purdy might be the most mature player on this entire team, and he's only
One
23,
of the
24 years old. Like,
It's crazy.
the way he handles himself is really just unusual, right? He is just he knows who he is. He's humble. He's locked in. He never gets cocky. Even with all of this stuff going on with the Super Bowl, he's still confident, but not cocky. He's just a very smart, mature young man. And I think that's part of what makes him such a good quarterback, really. I mean, even more than his talent, it's his mind. Uh,
Mm.
it's always been that way, I think, with Brock. So, yeah, I mean, I think 49er fans should feel fortunate to have Brock Purdy as a quarterback. It took me, I've been through a lot with this 49ers team, as I'm sure a lot of people are in this chat, and all 49er fans in general. So it took me a long time to like put my guard. It's like when you're in a relationship and you get screwed over, and then moving forward, your next relationship, you don't trust that person, and you know you have all that baggage. I kind of had baggage going into this relationship with
Fan
Brock.
baggage.
Yeah, fan baggage going into this relationship with Brock. He's slowly pulling my guard down, and I'm starting to trust quarterbacks again. So
He
I
treats me
love it,
way
man.
better than Jimmy ever did.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, exactly. He's making me think there's some good quarterbacks out there after all.
That's so stupid. I love it. I
Yeah,
absolutely love it.
yeah, yeah. Nah, Brock's great, man. I love Brock. What else? Do you see the intro? The intro with the I forget
Oh,
the
that
actor,
was sick. Yeah, yeah, Buffer
but yeah, well, I love that.
from UFC. Yeah, yeah, that was fantastic. That was a great intro.
Do the
Chase Young.
Raiders get that? Do the Raiders get that every game? That
No, I don't think so. I
shit, they
doubt it.
need to. We need to. Can we
I
call
mean,
that?
they're right in Vegas, so he's
Yeah,
right down the street, basically.
yeah. No, that's
But
dope.
one of the things that I found kind of amusing was, and this was like a side conversation. I forget who it was that was having the conversation with Chase Young, but they asked him about effort, and his response was as if this was the first time that there's ever been questions about his effort. He was like, "Well, yeah, I mean, it was embarrassing, talking about it, and those are things that I can't do and we can't do, and we just have to fix those things." Like, Chase, you were let go from Washington because of your effort, and then you came here and have had lack of effort in stints of every single game that you've played in. Now that it's a big deal and it was on the NFC Championship stage, now you're like, oh no, this is unacceptable. Dude, it's been there every single week. So I don't know. I found that kind of funny. And I also find it interesting that we're talking about effort the week of the Super Bowl. Effort. Effort, that's the problem.
You shouldn't be talking about effort in the NFL.
No.
Right? That's like middle school issues, not even high school. You shouldn't be talking about effort in high school. So it is still mind blowing at this moment that there's effort issues at the NFL, particularly in the NFC Championship game. I didn't see Chase Young respond, but I'm glad somebody asked him about it. And obviously, I hope that's a non-issue in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the spotlight being on it, I really think it will be a non-issue. But it's just funny. Like, Chase is in the final year of his deal, playing for a team that's about to go to a Super Bowl. Your motivation level shouldn't be higher because you're trying to get paid and you're playing in the biggest game of your life, and you're not motivated enough to run a little bit faster between plays.
Yeah.
Super strange. Super
You
strange.
know that little kid that was working for NFL Network asking questions?
Yeah, I loved him.
I wish he would have asked Chase Young that question. That would have been, excuse me, sir. Where's the effort needed at this level in the NFL?
Yeah.
That would have been
It would have been good. It would have been nice.
Yeah.
Tyler says, Jesse and Ryan update. The Niners were approved to practice at the Raiders facility on Thursday. Okay. They all made it seem like it was a non-issue yesterday. Kyle said that he doesn't plan on changing things. So that's good. I mean, if that's the update, I'll take it. I just don't think it's that big of an issue anymore, or should be that big of an issue, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Keenan says it was funny to see Kyle lit. Not a good look, though. Yeah, I think that's it, right? It is kind of funny, but to me, it's not a good look.
Yeah.
Brother Bob says, what I miss, Kyle's drunk. Morning, mofos. Well, I hope he's not still drunk.
You got to catch up.
Anyways. Yeah, yeah.
My understanding, though, too, is, and I don't know if it's true, but I think I heard Brock Purdy say that today's an off day for them. So, maybe
it's a walkthrough. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that has something to do with Kyle. Like, fuck it, let's get turned up. Excuse my language. I know this is a family show. I apologize.
No, I mean, maybe. Who knows? Whatever. Spokane 509er says, did you see Chase Young's NBC Sports interview today? Seems likely he is asleep. Didn't make me a believer. Yeah, I just don't think he's just more kind of soft-spoken, and players are like that. That doesn't bother me as much. Just more, what are you showing on the field? And on the field, he's like, meh. I think it's funny that after a week or two, we were having conversations of should the 49ers sign Chase Young and not Brandon Ayuk. That
was,
I find pretty funny in this moment.
I tell you what, that was not my conversation. Yeah.
Well, it was a conversation. It wasn't my take, but
Yeah.
it was a conversation that I was partaking in because people wanted to have the conversation. So,
Yeah.
but it absolutely shouldn't have been, but it was. It was fun.
Yeah.
Brother Bob says we better win the Super Bowl or else I will talk mad.
Well, of course.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, of
Had to
course you
zoom in
will.
on your
brother
Well,
Bob.
you're gonna talk mad-ish if we win the Super Bowl, so it doesn't matter. You're not gonna change for anybody.
Yeah.
Abstract says in 2 playoff games, Purdy has played a total of 2 good quarters of football. This team in general is playing poorly. What evidence does anyone have that the pattern will instantly change? I think this is a really good conversation, and I was going to talk about kind of you're saying he's had 2 good quarters, 3, I would say probably 3, but either way, I was going to talk about that when we got to the Purdy thing, but since you asked, let's have the conversation real quick. And then I'll probably reiterate when we talk about Purdy. But to me, his numbers were phenomenal in the regular season. And they've definitely taken a massive dip. A massive dip. There's no way around that. I understand that. But it's the moments in which he's playing well. When they need it most, he's playing well. I think that's pretty impressive. That's just me personally. I don't need perfection. You realize, and I'd have to look at Patrick Mahomes and what he's trending, but I've gone through all of the great quarterbacks, all of the Hall of Famers. You realize what Joe Montana did is very, very rare. If not, he's one of one, where he had decent regular season numbers, especially efficiency numbers, turnover to touchdown to INT ratios and yards per game and completion percentage and all those things. When he got to the postseason, those numbers all improved. And then when he got to the Super Bowl, they improved again. That is rare. Most players are like Peyton Manning, where the numbers are good and then they get worse when the pressure's on and the playoffs are there. It's rare that players that have good numbers can hold serve when they get to the playoffs and into the Super Bowl. It's even more rare that they up the ante in those moments. So what Brock's doing is actually pretty par for the course. His numbers have taken a dip when he's gotten to the playoffs. Not ideal. Understand that. However, the moments are what matter. And in those moments, he's playing his best football. I'm not mad at it. What are your thoughts on that, Ryan?
So this is actually interesting. Those 2 good quarters of football you're talking about, those are the fourth quarters, which is the most important time. And if you look at, I saw a statistic yesterday. I'm hoping I'm not butchering this, but I believe he's had the best fourth quarters in the playoffs since 1991 for a quarterback. The best quarterback rating for a quarterback in the playoffs in the fourth quarter since 1991. I'll take it. I'll take it, man. Yeah.
It's a far cry from Jimmy. Jimmy had literally the worst fourth quarter performances in NFL history in the playoffs. So,
yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? These are 2 polar opposite players. I'll take it. I'm not mad at it.
Yeah. And I think people got to remember too, like, this is the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. Like, just because they're the Packers and the Lions, and we kind of dismiss the Packers and the Lions as 49er fans, they made it to the playoffs for a reason. So we're playing the best teams. You can't expect, any quarterback to go out here and put up 400 yards and 4 touchdowns and just have perfect games throughout the playoffs. It's very rare that happens. The important thing is that Brock Purdy has shown up in the important moments, which is the fourth quarter of both of these games.
Well, and I'll say this, Abstract, one thing you are spot on about that I completely agree with is the team. It's not just a Brock Purdy thing, but this team has not started out well at all. So what is the evidence? I don't think that there is any. I think that's a concern going into this game. This team cannot sleepwalk through the first half of the game and expect to win. It's just not going to happen. So they're going to need more. Hopefully this effort conversation and some of these other things are firing everybody up. Maybe the bye week will do them well. I don't know, but you're right. And those teams, I know that we thought that they should win by wider margins. frankly, Vegas and everybody thought that they should have won by wider margins. These games shouldn't have been as tough as they were, but maybe it built something up in them knowing that they can come from behind. That's a good thing. Maybe they're going to need to tap into that a little bit this week. Hopefully, they're not too far behind and sleepwalk through the first half again to where it's too much to overcome against Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and a very, very good defense. So we'll see. I'm not saying you shouldn't be concerned at all. I'm just saying as far as the Purdy aspect, I'm not mad with the way that Purdy's been playing. That's just me personally.
And man, even if as far as the team goes, as in the I care about that stuff during the regular season. Like if you're playing a trash team, you need to blow them out. But in the playoffs, all I care about is you win. That's all I care about. As long as you win the game, I'm not going to complain about how you won or anything like that. Just win the damn game. Same with this Super Bowl coming up.
Yeah. Tyler says, well, let's also look at this perspective, Jesse. 3 types of people will tell you the truth: drunk people, angry people, and kids. All right, fair enough. We probably got a lot of truth last night. That's a good point. Very, very good point. James says, I know it is long over and we're in the Super Bowl, but man, I hope we get more info on what happened with Lance someday. He was, or what was it that frustrated him? Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be a fun 30 for 30 one day. Hopefully we get it. Although some of the 30 for 30s that I always wanted never came to fruition. I wanted like the Jailblazer era. I always wanted that 30 for 30. We'll see. I mean, this is one of those things where people have got to be willing to talk. I think just this whole story, especially if they win the Super Bowl, has to be covered someday. This team in particular and what kind of went into it. I'd be curious to see what that's all about.
I think it's more about the timing. From what I've heard from people within the organization, Trey just didn't get a grasp of the timing of the offense as quickly as Purdy did for whatever reason. And I think that frustrates Kyle because that's what he wants more than anything. Run my offense the way I want it ran on time, right? And Trey just didn't seem to get that like Brock got it.
CB Niner says, what tape did that Chiefs guy watch to think Jimmy G was better than Purdy? I have 2 behind enemy lines this week, so I had 1 last night. I was appalled when he said that. Couldn't take him seriously after that. Yeah, I don't know. I just asked him. I said, on a feeling, like, who remember where you were going in that Super Bowl or where you were at in that Super Bowl emotionally, and tell me at that time going into that Super Bowl and at this time going into this Super Bowl, who worried you more, Brock Purdy or Jimmy Garoppolo? And he said Jimmy Garoppolo. So I don't know. I can't argue with his feelings. I disagree. I mean, Purdy's definitely,
wait.
better quarterback.
Hold on, you had someone on behind enemy lines last night, and I wasn't able to watch. I was out getting sushi with the wife, but he said Jimmy's better than Brock.
He said Jimmy in 2019 he feels like is better than Brock. Yes.
He doesn't watch Niner games.
Disagree. Brother Bob says, Nails, who's on next behind enemy lines? Idiot like Greg, Jimmy G Lover. I don't know. I can't control their takes, man. I just have people on with big followings and big channels. And
Bob, attack the
2 of them this week.
Attack the take, not the person.
Not the person. Exactly. Thank you.
We're doing it.
Chad says, thank you. You've read the rules. Chad says, good luck to your team. A couple of months ago, when your Niners beat my Seahawks, I was talking some trash. It wasn't intended towards you. Just wanted to get that off my chest. Hopefully you and Brandon and do some mock draft stuff together. Yeah, I like Brandon a lot. I don't remember. I mean, I appreciate you feeling bad for it. I don't really take trash talk seriously in a chat or on the internet. I may fire back every once in a while because I think it's fun, but I don't remember it, Chad. It wasn't that big of a deal. I appreciate you though. And there's a lot of Seahawks fans, Rams fans that watch this channel from doing behind enemy lines. And I appreciate the support. Brandon and I will definitely do some things this offseason. He's awesome. I love his content. And he puts a lot of effort into the draft, more so than I do. So I respect his opinion like crazy. I would definitely love to do some work with him. What's up?
Can I ask Chad, just leave it in the comments. You don't have to pay. I'll just look for it. But how do you feel about the Seahawks coming into next year? I'm curious what your
yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. And McDonald, what is your thoughts about McDonald? I think that was a fantastic hire. Brother Bob says, and Joe M played when defenses could knock the crap out of him at quarterback. Yeah. Oh, you're saying even more impressive, right? That his numbers. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
It's crazy what he did. Spokane 509er says, "Miss you, Jesse. Glad to see you back. Thank you. Appreciate it." Lyle says, "I don't think the 49ers can play like they did in the two playoff games and come back against the number 2 defense in Mahomes. They better come out strong." Completely agree. I think the first drive, in fact, let's table this here. We'll keep it here, but I will respond to that and say I think the first drive is super important for both teams. I think we're going to have an answer potentially of who might win this game. I know it's crazy to say. There's a lot of football left, but if the 49ers come out and don't score their first drive and Kansas City does, I'll be very worried. Very, very worried. Because I look at Kansas City's defense, they're very vanilla on drive one. That's by design. The 49ers are used to scoring on that first drive in most instances. So I think it's a recipe that they should score on that first drive. Looking at the other side, I believe Kansas City has scored a touchdown on the first drive in every playoff game. So stopping them would be huge as well. And the 49ers defense hasn't been great on the first drive. So it is a situation where after the first drives, the 49ers might be down 7-0. And that would concern me going into the rest of this game because the Chiefs defense doesn't get easier to play against as the games go along. As they key in, they get better. And they've kind of proven that throughout these playoffs. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. We'll see. I think the 49ers probably will score on drive one. But if they don't and the Chiefs do, I'll be very, very, very concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, my understanding is the Chiefs score on the first drive often, but not as much on the second and third drive. They tend to fall off. So we'll see, man. I'm excited for this game. Who knows how it's going
Me
to play
too.
out? You know, like
Me too.
I'm just looking forward to it.
I'm even more excited for this game because I saw a chart and I want to get your thoughts on this. Statistically speaking, this is the worst Andy Reid Super Bowl team
Yeah.
of the 5 that he's had. So, out of all of the Super Bowl teams he's brought to the big dance,
Mm-hmm.
this is the worst team according to their win-loss record. This is the worst team according to their points per game. This is their worst team, or his worst team, rather, in point differential. And this is his worst team in turnover differential. Statistically speaking, this is the worst team that Reid has ever brought to a Super Bowl. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I love it. If that's if that's the case, right? Makes
Yeah.
me feel a little better. But I will say, I feel like it's a little deceiving. I think it's the worst offensive team that the Chiefs have had, but I don't think it's
Mhm.
the worst defensive team necessarily. I think it could be a little deceiving because of the lack of the offensive production makes the defense not look quite as good as it is. I think this defense is actually really good. This might be, in my opinion, it's the best Chiefs defense that has come to the Super Bowl so far. Definitely better than the team that the 49ers faced defensively. I think where the Chiefs struggle now, I mean, Mahomes is still fantastic. Travis Kelce still fantastic. Teams are defending the Chiefs a little differently now. But also it's just a lack of wide receiver production from the Chiefs, right? Pacheco can run the hell out the ball. I think the biggest difference and why you see the numbers the way they are is the way the teams are defending the Chiefs, right? Over the last 2.5 years, they've really backed off and made
Mhm.
Patrick Mahomes just dink and dunk everything. And then also lack of production from receivers. His receivers have really let him down. Tons and tons of drops, led the NFL in drops. So I think that's why you're seeing everything the way it is. I also think it's probably become a little stale for the guys that have been there winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl, that in the regular season, maybe they're not just quite as dialed in because they know what they're capable of, but it's the playoffs. And so I think everyone shouldn't feel, relaxed because the Chiefs have had a rougher regular season. They're very real and very scary when it comes to the postseason and not to be taken lightly. And we'll see how it goes. But I mean, I'm glad that it's not on paper the best team that they've ever brought to the Super Bowl. That makes me feel better. But I also say it's not just about the Chiefs. This is the best 49ers team that's been under Kyle Shanahan. At least on paper, this defense is really good. Maybe not production, Maybe there's been better defensive teams for the 49ers over the past few years. On paper, it looks really good. But I will say offensively, now the 49ers actually have an offense that is equal or better than the defense, which is the first time under Kyle Shanahan that I can actually say that and believe it to be true. So that's a big difference. So it's not just about what the Chiefs are bringing to the Super Bowl. They got to worry about the Niners bringing the best team that they've had under Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, JM, worse than that team. Also, the team that lost to the Bucks, that team was without 4 starters, so I would say that team was worse. They were without 4 starting offensive linemen, so going into that game, they were much worse. I agree with you, Ryan. I think that these stats are great, but for me, this Chiefs team over the last 3 weeks has not been the same Chiefs team that we saw all season long. This is a Chiefs team that is executing at a much higher level. This is a Chiefs team that has figured it out. This defense is very, very good. And stats can be misleading. When you look at that team that played the Chiefs last time around, I think by a points per game, that 49ers team was a better offense than this one. Nobody thinks that this offense is not better than that 2019 team.
Yeah.
So statistics can tell you one thing, but your eyes and reality can tell you another. And that's why statistics are fun. They can help support an argument and you can kind of twist them however you want. But to me, that's not going to dictate whether I respect the Chiefs or think that they are a good team. This is a team that's peaking at the right moment. There's tons of talent over there. And I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But this 49ers offense is way better than that last one. But statistically speaking, that offense put up more points per game. So there you go.
What's really all that matters in the NFL is that you A, make the playoffs, and B, get hot at the right time. And that's where the Chiefs are. So the regular season means nothing.
Twice.
The regular season means nothing at this point. It's how they're playing right now, and they're playing really well.
Yeah, I mean, I look back at that Colts team that won the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning, right? And that was a defense that wasn't very good in the regular season. That was an offense that was high flying, put up a lot of points with Peyton. Well, when they got to the playoffs, they won because of their defense. The defense buckled down. They were locking everybody up as if they were an elite defense all season long. Peyton Manning was not the reason, in my opinion, that they were winning those games. It was the defense. And you look at the Giants, same thing. That second time around when they won the Super Bowl, that defense was not rated high at all. It was a bad defense statistically. But when they got to the playoffs, they locked it down and they were a completely different defense. Eli was a completely different quarterback. So, regular season is cool. It's a sample size. I'm more, hey, where have you been at the last 3 weeks, especially in those playoff games? The Chiefs have been on fire. None of these games that they've played, and they played very good quarterbacks. They played very good teams on the road. None of these games have been in doubt. They've been in control from beginning to end in every single one of these games against good teams and good quarterbacks. This is not the same team. So that's great. Statistics can tell you one thing, but I don't necessarily believe it's the worst. I think this team's better than that Eagles team that he brought to the Super Bowl.
Let me give you one statistic that does make me feel really good, though. The 49ers are number 1 in EPA against the outside or running the outside zone.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs are 31st defending it, the outside zone. So that's the key right now. That's this main statistic that I'm dialed in on. If Kyle Shanahan just runs Christian McCaffrey outside zone, at least 20, gives him 15 outside zone runs in this game, I think the 49ers are going to have a lot of success.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk matchups, and then we'll get back to the super chats.
Mm-hmm.
What matchups excite you for this game? I'll give you one, and then I'll let you give a couple, and we'll kind of go back and forth. But the one for me that excites me the most is Kyle Shanahan going against Spagnolo. Yeah. 2 fantastic minds. Mm-hmm. 2 guys that with 2 weeks of preparation should have excellent game plans. Now, we'll see how they adjust on the fly and what have you. But in my opinion, these are arguably the 2 best doing it in their respective areas. Now, obviously, Andy Reid, you could say he's, offensively might be a little bit above Kyle. Okay, I'll listen to that. Maybe McDonald this year was on a little bit higher level than Spags for a lot of it. But man, Steve Spagnuolo is a very, very good coordinator, very good game planner. He's had very different game plans in all 3 playoff games, and they've executed flawlessly on all of them. This Chiefs team, there's a lot to be made about their offense, how they've only scored 30 points 3 times this season. Well, guess how many times they gave up 30 points? 0. They've given up 30 points one time, I believe, in the last 36 games played, including the playoffs. They've given up 27 points, I think, is the most they've given up this year. They did that one time. Every other game, they gave up 24 points or less, I believe. That is crazy. This defense is playing phenomenal football. That's going to be fun to watch because you talked about this team being offensively ready, more prepared, maybe more of an offensive team, the 49ers, than they are a defensive team.
Mm-hmm.
But when you compare 2019, it was the Chiefs offensive-led team against the 49ers defensive-led team. When you compare them in 2024 or 2023, 2024, it's the 49ers offensive-led team against the Chiefs defensive-led team. Stark contrast from where they were just 5 short years ago. So for me, this is the matchup that I look forward to most, is when the 49ers offense is on the field. What kind of games are being played against Steve Spagnuolo and that defense and vice versa? I'm looking really forward to that matchup.
Yeah, and I believe Kyle's offensive-led teams versus Spagnuolo defensive-led teams, Kyle's 5-3. And the 3 victories for Spagnuolo came on the Chiefs. Obviously, there's more involved with that. It's not just offense versus defense. You got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid on the other side of the ball helping. But he is a really good coach, so I don't take anything away from that. I think that's a great matchup. For me, it's just D-line versus Pacheco, or the D-line versus the Chiefs O-line. To me, if one unit on this 49ers team needs to step up this week over any other unit, it's that defensive line, stopping the run, getting to the quarterback, not containing Patrick Mahomes, not letting him get out of the pocket. That is the biggest thing that I want to see from this 49ers team. I want to see Chase Young play out of his mind. I want to see Javon Hargrave live up to the hype of why we drafted him. I want to see Eric Armstead play his best game, Nick Bosa play his best game. I want to see Kinlaw come in and Kinlaw's been silently killing it the last couple of weeks, but I want to see his production improve as well. That's the biggest difference for me. That's the biggest matchup I'm going to be looking for, is how is this D-line going to play in this game, because they haven't been playing well. They've been getting burnt in the run game. They haven't been getting home to the quarterback as much as we'd want. Pressures have been okay, but they haven't been getting there like we want. Chase Young has been taking plays off. He hasn't been living up to the trade. So that is the main thing that I want to see from the 49ers, where I want to see improvement, is that 49ers defensive line versus the Chiefs offensive line. I think that's going to be the key to this game outside of Kyle.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Another matchup, an individual matchup, kind of going back to the offense and defense. I want to see Ayuk and Snead. That's going to be a fun matchup. If Snead shadows them all game long, I'm curious to see how Ayuk can get loose. Snead's very good, man. Very, very good corner. Arguably one of the best, if not the best, doing it right now.
Yeah.
Him and Ayuk are going to be a lot of fun. And they kind of remind me a lot of each other, just in opposite positions, So they're both gritty, they're physical, they can do it all. That Ayuk can run routes, he can block, he can do all that. Snead can play well in zone, he can play well in man. He's a good tackler. It's a lot of fun. This matchup's going to be a fun one to watch. I'm looking forward to that matchup in particular.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is BA's game, to be real, because of the DBs are so good on the Chiefs. I feel like it's going to be more about CMC, Debo running the ball and catching, but more running the ball, maybe some screens, things like that, maybe a little Kittle. I think BA, this is probably not going to be his game, unfortunately for him. I love him. He's one of my favorite Niners, back here on my picture, smoking a cigar. I like BA. I just don't think this is his game from a defensive standpoint, like what they are working with over there in Kansas City. I think he might, have four or five catches, maybe. I think it's really going to be about the other guys. A big matchup I'm looking for, Jesse, is this one's been bothering me. I'm having little like nightmares in my head about this one. It's Brock Purdy versus Justin Reed. Brock
Oh,
Purdy has struggled with safeties, right? They sit down and wait for him to throw to his spot. We saw that against the Ravens. We saw that against the Lions. Like Justin Reed is really freaking good. I've been watching him throughout the playoffs, and I've just been really impressed with how good that guy is. So Justin Reed and Brock Purdy is a matchup I'm looking for. Don't throw the ball to that guy's direction, man. He's a scary cat. I think it's going to be a lot of dinking and dunking in this game, man, by both sides, by Mahomes and Brock Purdy. And
no,
I think
yeah.
that's a smart way to approach it. To be honest, I don't want to see any intermediate throws in Justin Reed's direction. That worries me a little bit. Brock Purdy can't turn the ball over in this game, and that would be something that I'm concerned about.
You know what worries me is Moody against the uprights. That's what worries me. That's a
Yeah,
matchup I'm worried about.
yeah.
I mean, I, I don't know, man. I said it's been 2 weeks. I know we kind of just forget that Moody has missed kicks in 3 straight games, but man, this is not ideal. Not ideal in a
Yeah.
game that might be very close. Here's a question for you, off the wall question. And I was thinking this through last night doing Behind Enemy Lines, and I
Mhm.
know where I'm coming from on it. Okay, you have your choice. 49ers are up 4 with a minute left. Mahomes gets the ball at the 25, 2 timeouts. Would you rather
Mhm.
that situation, or would you rather the 49ers down 4 with a minute left, 2 timeouts? Purdy gets the ball at the 25-yard line. Which scenario would you prefer in this Super Bowl?
I'm gonna say the kicker, bro. Here's the thing. I'm scared of Mahomes in those situations. But I predicted this game. I did math on it, man. I nerded all the way out and did the math. And my prediction for this game is around 23-21 Niners. I think it's gonna be a low scoring game in the low 20s. And I actually think Moody's gonna win the damn game for the Niners. I think that's how it's gonna go down. And it feels like because we're so scared of it and because we're so worried about it, wouldn't that be poetic justice that he comes out and wins the game for the
I'll
49ers?
take it. I'll
Yeah.
take it.
I just got a gut feeling that it's kind of going to go down like that. Yeah, I don't want Mahomes to have the ball in his hands at the end of the game. I don't want that. He's a
I
heartbreaker.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I would feel a lot better about the offense and Purdy having the ball, needing to get a touchdown to win, than I would Patrick Mahomes having the ball, needing to get a touchdown. That scenario terrifies me. So
Yeah.
if the 49ers are in a tight one, and I think they might be, I hope the 49ers have the ball last. I hope Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan, this offense, everybody, they have it last, because I think they can go win it. I'm worried that the Chiefs also could go win it if they're in that scenario and there's nothing that can happen. I think my prediction is 24-20. So we're very, very close on this one. Very close.
I actually like your prediction better. I just did the math. I like the 24-20 because it makes more sense from just how do you get to 23-21. But
Oh,
like,
23, you can definitely get there. I
yeah,
mean,
you
3
get there.
field goals, you're relying on Moody an awful lot.
Dude, I did the math. I did the points for the Chiefs versus the points against for the Niners, divided it by 14 because they have 7 common opponents. I was just looking
Mhm.
at common opponents, and the score is 22.14 versus 21.56. So I rounded it to 23-20 at 21. That's how I did
Nice.
it.
I
Yeah.
like it. I like
Yeah.
it. A lot of science went into that one. Uh,
Probably gonna be way off. Yeah.
Probably, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Nico says, "Do you think the Niners benefit from being battle tested?" I do. I actually, here's the thing. The 49ers should have won those games more handily. What the Chiefs have done, the Chiefs have been more impressive. I don't think there's any arguing that. Who's been the more impressive team in these playoffs? Kansas City Chiefs. First of all, they've won 3. 49ers have won 2. They've won 2 road games. 49ers haven't played on the road. They won all those games pretty handily. It was never really in doubt. The 49ers had to fight and scrape for winning those games, both of them. So the Chiefs have been more impressive. However, to me, there's a big difference between thinking you can come from behind and knowing you can come from behind. So I think them having done it in 2 very different ways 2 weeks in a row, I think ultimately that's a good thing. I think it is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Brother Bob says, who's on behind enemy lines next? He yelled it. Ryan, my job is to attack. Duh. I'm not telling you, Brother Bob. It's going to be a surprise. How about that?
I'm telling
How
you, man.
about them apples?
I usually want all the smoke, but I don't want any smoke with Brother Bob. I'm gonna keep him on my good side permanently. Yeah, we're gonna be friends forever, but I don't want none, brother.
He's a loose cannon. Jet says, time for the fake Debo screen quick hitter slant to Kittle should be money. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm all for it. And Brother Bob says, Chad, it's okay. Your team is trash. Facts. Glad you're okay now. Who's he talking? Is he talking to somebody in the chat? Maybe. I don't know. Dustin the Gale says, hey, Ryan, I'm going through a breakup right now. Any wise words? And Jesse, thank you for your support yesterday. Ooh, wise words. You're on the spot.
I got lots of wise words, my friend. No, hey, I'm gonna be real, brother. If you're going through a breakup right now, wasn't meant to be. Something better is out there for you. I see that every single time, like with everybody, man. I've never seen someone lose somebody and then not find somebody better. So keep that in mind, man. Keep pushing. You'll get through it, and you'll find somebody much better that makes you happier than whoever you're dealing with right now, bro. Trust me.
Yeah, I agree with that. Everything happens for a reason. Everything that I've ever seen around me happens for a reason. I've had people at work bummed out that they didn't get a promotion. I've told them, listen, it's fine. Everything happens for a reason. You don't know what that reason is now. And then 6 months later, God revealed something way better for them. That was like, oh my God, thank you. I didn't get that promotion. I'm good to go. So I know it's hard in the moment, but listen, everything happens for a reason.
And one more thing, Dustin, one thing I always take when I go through situations like that is I'm just, I'm a big Pac fan. Revenge is or success is like the greatest revenge, or what's the expression? Success is the greatest revenge. Something I won't use Pac's. I'll use the regular expression, but success is the greatest revenge. So go out there, work on your fitness, work on your money, work on your happiness, and just let whoever it is see all that going down. And that's the greatest revenge you could get, brother.
Absolutely. Mike says the key to victory, I'm going to say it quietly because he wants it to be a secret. The key to victory is to score more points than the Chiefs before time expires. Don't tell anyone my secret. It's between you and I, Mike. Don't worry about it. Your secret is safe with me. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Lyle says the first 5 games this year, I think the 49ers were ranked 2 or 3 on defense. What do you think happened to them? I think that it's hard to sustain being an elite defense for that many years. I think that maybe the injury to Talanoa Hufanga was a little bit bigger than what we anticipated. I think having a new defensive coordinator in the position is tough, and it doesn't always go as well as you would like.
I got one.
And I think that they played some good teams as well. So there. Yeah, good. Yeah.
I think they shot Wilkes in the foot. That's what I think happened. Those first 5 games, Wilkes was free to call whatever he wanted, to do whatever he wanted, right? They had one or two, they had some bad games there. Everything got put on the Wilkes, and everything's like, oh, you're coming down from the booth, you're coming down to the sidelines. We're gonna do things our way. We're gonna rush 4. They undercut him, and they took away his freedom to get creative with his play calling. I think that's what happened.
Yeah, it's a possibility too.
Yeah.
Cryptic says Kyle Shanahan did have Reed's number until 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Still hurts. I think it's more Kyle Shanahan versus Spags this time. And he also wants to see Snead line up versus not only BA, but George Kittle. I'm here for it. I'm definitely here for it. Brother Bob says BA will end up being a Super Bowl MVP, if not CMC or Brock Purdy. My bet was on George Kittle. I agreed with you, Ryan, that it's not going to be a big BA game. I think he'll be impactful in different ways, blocking, what have you, but I don't think it's the game lines up for him to be great statistically. That being said, George Kittle did make a proclamation that he would be back there and would be there with revenge on his mind. I think this might be a big George Kittle game, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think Kittle's going to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Kittle's going to definitely play a part. If I had to predict MVPs, I would go CMC.
It's always quarterback. You always go like quarterbacks.
I got CMC over Brock in this one, but Brock would be my second choice, and then Debo would be my third choice.
Okay, all right. Official BNA Music says Moody versus Indoor AC Breeze is a tough matchup. Nice.
Yeah.
Brother Bob says, laugh out loud, Ryan. That's my problem. I like all the smoke. Yeah, you definitely do. Matthew says this Super Bowl is turning into a tawdry affair.
Tawdry. Hey, Matthew. Way to use
Great. Wow. All right.
Yeah.
I don't even know what tawdry means,
Tawdry
but that's
affair.
fantastic.
I love that.
Use into a tawdry affair, Swifties, Turfgate, and Mahomes Sr. with his third DUI. I am hoping the Niners can be a more focused team. Yeah, I think that being focused in these moments is key, and that's why I kind of drew a lot out of the Shanahan stuff. Maybe more than I should have. Most people disagree with me. That's fine, but that's kind of where I was going with it. I agree with that. All right, let's talk a little bit about Brock Purdy, and can he be Eli Manning to Patrick Mahomes the way that Eli was to Tom Brady? Remember, Tom Brady wasn't losing a lot to Peyton Manning and some of the great quarterbacks in the AFC, Ben Roethlisberger, what have you. It was when he got to the Super Bowl, he lost to Eli Manning. At the time, we're like, how are you going to lose a younger brother, but not the actual legit top 3 quarterback of all time in Peyton Manning? There was a lot of conversation about who was better, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and that conversation carried on for a very long time. We just watched Patrick Mahomes cut through the AFC yet again. Yes, he's lost once to Burrow, lost once to Tom, but for the most part, I mean, he's beaten those guys. He beat Burrow the second time around. He's beaten Josh Allen the times that he's played him. He went through Lamar Jackson, and now he's playing Brock Purdy. And on paper, you're looking at it saying, all right, well, Brock does not measure up to these guys over here. They're the elite quarterbacks. But I think that the same thing was said, and rightfully so, about Eli Manning and those quarterbacks in the AFC. Yet Eli Manning and that team were able to get it done. I think it's a fun story, and I know that you want to give Purdy some flowers here, but just overall thinking about it, talk about this a little bit. Do you think that Purdy can be the Eli Manning to Patrick Mahomes? And then, go into some of the things that you wanted to talk about as well when it came to Purdy.
I mean, I see what you're saying. I personally don't like the quarterback versus quarterback thing. Like, I don't really like that because it's not who plays, right? Like, Purdy's.
You're right.
It's not a prize fight, right? It's not Purdy versus Mahomes in the ring, right? You're a UFC guy. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's Patrick Mahomes versus the 49ers defense. It's the whole Chiefs versus the 49ers. It's the 49ers versus the Chiefs. So I see what you're saying, and I think that's entirely possible. But as far as like comparing Purdy directly to Eli, only in that regard, I could see that happening. But I think Purdy's better than Eli Manning. If you look at what he's done throughout this, here's the thing, man. Like we talked about in the beginning of the show. I have baggage from Jimmy G, my last relationship with the quarterback. It took me a while.
Listen up, Dustin Nagel. It was Dustin, right? Was it him that said it? That was going through a breakup? Who's going through a breakup?
Yeah,
okay. Dustin. Listen up. This is don't carry this baggage over to your next relationship. Go ahead.
Right.
Man.
Yeah, so it took me. I was very cautious on Brock Purdy. Right? Obviously, he's the last pick in the draft. That's like a thing. Like, can the last pick in the draft really be that guy? Right. Then the reason why he was the last pick in the draft is because of his arm talent. And I always wanted a quarterback that could take the top off. Last year, he wasn't taking the top off very much. He was throwing under 10 yards 72% of the time. And I'm looking at this, a guy who has known for not being a good arm talent. He's the last pick in the draft. He's throwing under 10 yards 72% of the time. In my head, I'm like, shit, another Jimmy Garoppolo dink and dunk, and 49ers trying to dink and dunk their way to the Super Bowl. Then he blows his UCL in the NFC Championship game last year. And I'm thinking, great, the guy without a strong arm now hurt his arm, and we're coming back. And then Kyle comes out in the offseason. We're rolling with Brock Purdy. He's the real deal. The dude's still in a freaking cast or whatever he's in. And we're thinking this guy's going to be ready by week 1. I didn't think he's going to play week 1. But he does. He plays in training camp. He comes out and he's doing his thing. I'm like really blown away. Like, Brock Purdy is winning me the hell over. Like, let's not talk about the season yet. Just who he is as a person, his leadership. You saw him last night. His morals, his values, his confidence, but yet not cockiness, his humbleness. All that stuff is great. And then you look at the season that he's had this year. He started taking the top off. He's throwing under 10 yards less than 62% of the time now. He's going deep. He's breaking records left and right. This offense is better than it's ever been. He has all these statistics where he's leading the NFL. Now, if Brock Purdy goes into this game and beats the Chiefs led by Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in his second year, first year starting, excuse my language, but that shit is wild. Like, to imagine that this kid is going to do that. Now, I don't know. We don't know if he's going to do that. He may or may not do that. He may or may not pull it off, and that will change the narrative. Like, if he goes out and lays an egg and plays like he did against the Ravens, that's going to change everything he did during the regular season. But if he tops off this season with a Super Bowl victory over the Chiefs with Mahomes and Andy Reid, I mean, never seen anything like it, dude. And we may be in luck here. So we'll see what happens, brother. I'm excited about it. I'm coming around on Brock Purdy.
You brought up something saying what if they lose versus what if they win? That kind of brings me to another question. Should anybody's opinion be swayed one way or another on Brock Purdy, regardless of where you are on him, one way or another based off of one game? In your opinion, and the results of this game, you think so?
100%, because this isn't just one game. If it was a regular season game, that's one thing, and I would say no, you shouldn't sway your opinion on a quarterback in one game. But this is what quarterbacks are paid for. The Super Bowl. You made it to the Super Bowl. You have a really good team. Now, how do you perform under the highest pressure at the right time?
Okay, let me throw out two scenarios to you. If they win and he doesn't play well, is that more impressive than losing and him playing very well? Like Jalen Hurts last year didn't win the Super Bowl, but on the biggest stage played, I mean, almost as good as he could. One fumble aside, it was about as perfect as he could have been for a game in the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, we remember that they didn't win and he didn't have the best season this year, and people are like, well, blah, blah, blah. But overall, I mean, just winning the game, is that more impressive? I mean, shouldn't his play be a factor in it as well? Like, what are your thoughts there?
If he plays horrible, they're not winning the game, right? So if they win this Super Bowl, that's because he either played okay or great. If he plays awful, they're not winning.
Not horrible. Let's say, okay, let me throw this out there. He throws for 180 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. They win the game. Or they lose the game. He throws for 250, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
You know, it's really about watching the film, right? Like, I guess ultimately to answer,
how do you feel, right? Because I guess looking at that Packers game or looking at that Lions game, maybe statistically it's not as great as what you actually felt in the moment when you watched it. That is what's fun about film and going back and watching it. And that's why I like kind of breaking down college quarterbacks a lot, is because I don't watch a lot of college football outside of the Ducks and in the playoff games. But what you get is, if you don't know the score going into it, you don't know the stats, and you're just watching play in and play out and making notes, you come away with a different perspective than what you do if the announcers are there, you're watching it, you got all the emotion. You really can kind of decipher what's going on around you. So that's fair.
Yeah, it's watching the game because, right, like people throw out statistics quite a bit and they're very deceiving. Like interceptions, for instance, like you could throw 2 passes perfectly on target. The receiver doesn't catch it, tips up in the air, and that's an interception. But you look at it on paper, oh, yeah, 2 interceptions. Okay, well, both of them went right off the receiver's hands. You know, and also to the opposite, he could throw 3 passes directly to a DB and they drop them. That doesn't feel good, even if it's not intercepted, right? So it's more about watching the game than it is statistically. Yeah. But if Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl against the Chiefs and he doesn't just look awful, which I don't think you can beat the Chiefs as the quarterback and look awful at the same time. If he plays okay or great and beats the Chiefs, man, this dude's going to be around for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my point is that for me, this one game is not going to change. Shouldn't change minds a lot. Like if you're fully sold on Brock being the guy forever, I don't think losing this game in year number 2, let's put everything in perspective for a second. Year number 2, first year starting on a team with these expectations to do what he's done, in the playoffs. Even more importantly, if he doesn't play well in this game and they lose, I don't think that should make you think, okay, he's not the guy, right? If you think he's the guy now, you shouldn't change your mind after this game and think he's not the guy. If you have questions on whether he's the guy, you should still question. Like, it's just still 1 year, no matter what happens. So regardless of where you're at, I don't think people should be flip-flopping on their opinion, regardless of what happens in this one game. That's just my personal opinion, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
If he comes out and plays like he did against the Ravens, my opinion of Brock Purdy is going to change. If you come out and play like you did against the Ravens in the Super Bowl, I'm down on Brock Purdy. But if you come out here and ball the hell out and guide this team to a Super Bowl, stocks up, right? Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to continue. We've seen it in the history of the NFL. Quarterbacks go out, look great for a year or two, and then fall completely the hell off, and vice versa. But if he wins this game and he plays great, my stock's up for Brock Purdy for me, for sure.
Okay, that's fair. Lyle says, hey, Jesse, I keep hearing the first team to 30 points wins the game. What do you think about that? I don't think either team's getting 30, so I guess they're both losing, Lyle. No, I think when we talked about it earlier, the Chiefs don't give up 30 points, so expecting 30 is going to be tough. But also the Chiefs don't really score 30 points. So thinking they're going to get to 30 is also, I think, going to be tough. So Mike says, thanks, Jesse, for making this season more enjoyable. Thank you, Mike, for supporting. You guys make it enjoyable for us. Keenan says, there are too many biscuits on this team. All Brock has to do is butter them. Nice. Well played. Lyle says, to win this game, the Niners have 3 stud running backs. I would pound the rock on the Chiefs defense, rotate the running backs, and wear that defense down, and then open up the passing game. Hey, I won't be mad at that either. Won't be mad at that. Smack says, my first child was born on January 11th last month. I remember, Smack. The Super Bowl is February 11th. He's our good luck charm. We will win. Big game for our DB and our boy, Debo. Hey, man. Congratulations to you again. I remember you were in our chat for whatever reason the day your kid was born. And that's showing love, man. That's showing a lot of love. I'm sure you're loving fatherhood, man. It's awesome. Clutch Gene Sports, my guy Marco says, congrats on 15K, Jesse. Let's freaking go. Nice. Yeah, we must have gotten there during this stream. I appreciate everybody showing love. Definitely a big milestone. Only bigger, better things to come from Last Second Sports. I'm looking really, really forward to what the future holds for this channel, and with all of you making it happen. Thank you so much for getting there. I appreciate it.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. All right. That's it for the show. Appreciate you, Ryan, as always. Next time we talk, it's going to be after a Super Bowl victory. I can feel it. Number 6 is headed our way. Looking forward to it. Everybody in the chat, stay tuned. Haven't figured out what I'm going to do tonight. Might do a call-in show. Would love to hear from you guys if that's the case. And until next time, peace.